Don't just live for tomorrow, or just live in yesterday. Just be glad for all you have that's in today. And though you've come through many obstacles.
Hey everyone, Connie here, and welcome to my blind reaction to episode 13 of JoJo's Bizarre Adventure Stone Ocean. After almost a fucking year of waiting, we are finally here. And after one hectic week of power outage here at my house. We're finally here, though, and here's the thing. I've already seen one person on the Discord literally say, wait, when did Stone Ocean return? I didn't know it was returning already. And on top of that, I've heard multiple other people like saying this all over the place. It's like, wait, Stone Ocean is returning? When was that happening? And it's like, oh my god. Netflix really fucked up. And it's like something we all knew. It's something, it's not new information. But wow. And it's like, yeah, for those of us who are like really strong fans, whether you've read the manga or whatnot, a lot of us were actively paying attention and waiting for any bit of news, waiting for the announcements when the release date would come. So there's a lot of us who obviously knew it was coming. But there's so many people, whether casual fans or just even ones who are very heavy fans of the series and just, don't actively search this information out. But plenty of people who just did not know. Because Netflix did shit all for advertising. Because Netflix. If it's not one of their big pet projects, they're not going to advertise for it. Honestly, if it's animated, they're not going to advertise for it. At least not properly. They might, it's ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous how poorly this was promoted. People didn't know it was happening until they started seeing people posting about it on social media. And on top of that, we still had to wait almost a year after the first batch of episodes, the first 12 episodes released, to get any more. And as has been stated in the past, with the binging model, this is egregious at best. Because with the binging model, having to wait almost a year destroys hype. It destroys engagement in a series. Because with a binging model, you have maybe a month max of engagement. You have 12 episodes. Everybody binges it. Mostly everybody binges it right away. Right? Within a couple days. So you have the max excitement within 2 weeks. And then maybe a couple weeks after that with a little bit of engagement still kind of petering on for kind of the latecomers into things. But after that month period hits, it's pretty much dead. Nobody's talking about it anymore. Everybody's moved on because that's how the binging model works. That's the point of it. Just fast consuming of the product, and as such, fast engagement of the product. It happens quick, snappy, and then it's over, and people move on. And this model has killed numerous shows and the engagement for numerous shows. There have been shows that have had to wait like 6 months or so to even appear on Netflix because Netflix got the licensing right. And because of that, the anime have been completely destroyed in terms of the engagement and interest. Carol Tuesday is the biggest example of that. A series by Shinichiro Watanabe, the famed director of Cowboy Bebop, of Cowboy fucking Bebop, one of the biggest anime of all time. And yet this series that's also by a really highly proclaimed studio, Studio Bones, did super poorly because people had to wait to legally stream it for like half a year. By that point, anybody who really wanted to see it and didn't want to wait will have already pirated it. And those who did wait lost interest and just never ended up tuning in because they moved on to other things and it just completely fell off their radar. And I remember when that was first coming out, it was massive with hype. Massive with hype and engagement. And then because of Netflix gaining the rights to it and completely fucking it over, no one talks about the series. You never hear anyone talk about it. And it's a shame. I consider it one of the best anime out there. And mind you, that's just my opinion, of course, but still. I definitely feel it's an anime a lot more people would have loved had they seen it. And now JoJo's suffering through the same thing. The engagement and interest and hype around it has drastically decreased. That's already been proven with the trailer views for the first batch and the second batch. And again, with the fact that people didn't even know this second batch was coming because of how poorly it was promoted. And again, there's still going to be plenty of people who, whether they knew ahead of time or not that it was coming, are still going to watch it because it's JoJo. And it's still by David Production, and it's still going to be great. And I'm afraid that Netflix is just going to get away with this because of that. Because it's still going to get enough attention and enough viewership that they're not going to see this as the huge fuck up that it was. Despite the constant complaining and everything going on from everyone, they're going to see this as a win, as a success. Or at the very least, they're going to blame the show rather than take any blame themselves. And this makes things honestly look kind of dim for future parts. And I just really, really fucking hope that Netflix does not get the licensing rights to part 7 and onward. Because I feel that would absolutely destroy JoJo even further. And on top of it, this is already a part that there's a lot of people who bitch about. And while some of them just don't like the story and characters and whatnot, there are some, let's be honest, who are bitching because it's a female JoJo. And it's a female-led part. Whether you think that's all of them or not, whether you think it's a majority or not, the fact is, there are people who are doing that. I've seen them myself. And this part just doesn't get the kind of overall beloved status that other parts do. So with the ruined engagement by Netflix and that combined, it's like it's really hurting the future of this series. And I really hope that this doesn't stop David Production from continuing on to part 7 and eventually part 8 in the future. And I think part 8 just recently ended and part 9 is going to be happening soon. So I think that's pretty much all we can go off of right now. But you get the point. Um, and did my camera die? God fucking damn it! When did my camera die? Oh, I really hope this doesn't become a thing again. Hold on. Am I back? I really hope this doesn't become a thing again. There's a point, like, I think for a week where this was a big issue, and it's like, oh my god. I really hope this doesn't become a thing again. I don't need any more issues this week. But, as I was saying, yeah, with all of this going on, it's just, a lot of people didn't even know this was coming, and that's an issue. But again, the series should still be really good. For those of us who are still going to be watching, we're still most likely going to enjoy it. Most of us are still going to have a great time. We're still going to love it. So, yeah. But it's unquestionable the kind of impact this will have. So, last we left off, Jolene got the disc to the carrier pigeon to bring it to the Speedwagon Foundation, and had a big victory over Father Pucci and his stand and all. Weather report helped out, and everything is set to go into the next part of this bizarre adventure. I don't know what to expect because I am an anime only, so I don't know where this goes at all from the manga. But I'm definitely very excited. I really enjoyed the first batch of episodes. I really enjoyed these characters, and I've been super excited to see them return. Once I found out the release date and once I really started getting near, it's like the hype for me was really through the roof. It's like, this is something I've been waiting for and something that I'm really happy and really excited is finally back. So hopefully we get more awesome stuff from Jolene, Hermes, and Foo Fighters in this part. Hopefully Father Pucci continues to be a great villain, led by his past with Dio and everything. And hopefully we get some more just random, bizarre wildness, how else do you put it, that this series is known for. Also, there is a new opening, and I do know that for sure now. I do know there is a new opening. I haven't seen it. I haven't seen anything from it. I haven't heard the music. I just know it exists. Which we already had guessed. That's how it was going to work. With these batches, it's like, okay, we're going to have our 3 openings and everything. I don't know anything really about this opening. I just know it exists. And I do believe I heard at one point that it was being done, the song was being done by one of the artists who did a part 4 opening. I don't know if that's true. I don't know which one. I just heard briefly that that is a thing. But yeah, obviously we will check out that opening. It's going to be hard to beat the previous one. But we'll see how it goes. And no matter what, I'm still hype as hell. So yeah, we're going to get into this and hope for the best. So when the screen fades to black, pause this redirect and go to the description below. Follow the link to the reaction, and after you watch it, come back here to the redirect and resume play. Because after it fades to black and then fades back in, everything from that point forward will be my afterthoughts and will contain spoilers to the episode. So, with that being said, thank you so much for tuning in, and I will see you at the reaction. And we are back, and we'll begin with spoilers in 3, 2, 1, now. So, I don't know if what I had seen before was just a rumor or something, but maybe because I had seen it before, it like helps add to the extreme disappointment here, but the fact that there appears to not be a new opening is really fucking confusing to me as a decision. And I feel like this would be David Production and their decision rather than Netflix. I feel like Netflix would have very little say over this because they're just putting the series out for US local streaming and all that. They're just the ones who are putting the series out here. And I guess worldwide technically, but still, you get the point. They're the more distributing the series than actually having a say in it, I feel. And I doubt they would get to control like when a new opening would be, but it's like the thing is it's not exactly the same, meaning that this is probably not going to change next episode or whatnot either. Because they change one tiny part in it. And it's not a good change. And so most of the opening is the same. Most of the opening is exactly the same. The only change comes at the end, where Jolene's entire part with like her father at the end is changed. Instead of turning away from her father and, looking determined through the bars of the cell, she goes towards her father with a look of sorrow and a desire to save him and everything. Which, obviously fits for the overall theme of the series and everything. But at the same time, did anyone else notice how drastically different it was animated? Like, the colors compared to the rest of the opening, the art and animation compared to the rest of the opening was so drastically different that it didn't feel like it belonged. If you showed this to me and told me that someone spliced that in from a fan video on YouTube, I would believe you. Because by no means does that feel like it naturally fits there. And on top of that, continuing with the exact same opening, presumably throughout the entire rest of this batch, is not a good thing. Animes change openings partway through to keep viewer engagement up. Because the opening is oftentimes the first thing you see. And you want the viewers to engage with that. You want the viewers to enjoy the opening. If it stays the same for too long, they lose interest and they start to skip it. Unless it's something that's like so ridiculously good or iconic that it's one of those ones that most people, or at least a good portion of people, don't tend to skip too often. And while this opening is very good, JoJo is also known for having pretty iconic openings and changing them up at key points through the series. And honestly, with where the last episode left off before this, that was a key point. Not changing the opening here, instead just changing literally a single, 4 seconds of it or so, feels baffling at best, and almost kind of insulting at worst. It's like, why does... I don't want to say that this was their intention for how it was, how they would... I don't want to say this is their intention for how it would feel going into this. I don't think that's the case. But watching this and everything, it's like, oh, okay. So we have our first and so far only female JoJo. And while she's shown to be badass and awesome and capable, a great character, she gets one opening for the anime adaptation. Only one. Because again, if they change that bit at the end there, they're not going to be changing the entire opening again anytime soon. Meaning that they probably just have this exact same opening this entire batch. Which means, why would they change the opening to something completely different for the final batch of episodes? that kind of doesn't make sense. You're going to have the same opening with one tiny exception for 2/3 of the series and then suddenly just switch it out of nowhere. That would be illogical. I mean, they could still do that. It's possible. But it almost seems very. I don't know. It's just. I had an issue with Part 5 and the way and the way Part 5 delayed releasing a new opening as well. And even with the idea of like when the change in the opening took place and all kind of working, kind of making sense, I still feel like it was a little later in the series than needed. That they could have entered in a new opening sooner. And with this, it's just like, again, if there's not another new opening at all during this set, that's just a extremely baffling and honestly questionable choice. It makes no sense to me. And honestly, as much as I love this opening, if that's going to be the only difference here, I'm going to be skipping it. I'm not going to. I don't feel the need to continue to watch this opening for an entire batch of 12 more episodes when I've seen this so many times. And the one change that is there is so jarring to look at that it actively hurts the opening. Like, if it were animated in the same colors, style, and just overall feel of that section of the original how the opening was before, then that would be fine. But the fact that they changed so much about it, it's so jarring. It is so jarring, and it just does not mesh at all. It doesn't feel like it's animated by the same studio, honestly. And it's a shame that this is taking up so much time and attention from me in these afterthoughts, because you come back after almost a year of waiting, and this is so attention grabbing that it distracts from the fact that this was a pretty strong episode back. And I'm not just saying that because of being an Hermes fan. I'm not just saying that because Hermes is, as of currently, still my favorite character in Part 6. This was a pretty strong episode, developing Hermes' character pretty well, delivering on what the last episode from the first batch set up with its post-credits, and just giving us a really interesting stand ability with Limp Bizkit here. Apparently, Limp Bizkit seemingly has the ability, when called upon by the user, in this case Sportsmax, Limp Bizkit is able to create these invisible spiritual beings out of, like, dead tissue nearby. Basically, it takes these nearby. There happens to be these stuffed animals, these taxidermied animals, a bird and an alligator. Sportsmax is specifically working on them. I don't know if that's a prerequisite for the use of the stand, but because he was working on them, maybe if that is the prerequisite, it allowed Limp Bizkit to kind of like create, in a way, substands that would cause living invisible beings based on those taxidermied animals to come to life and attack. We see at first an invisible bird is attacking Hermes, pecking holes in her and, trying to rip out her arteries and shit, which is ew. Like, even more so than, like, the horrific aspect of it, it's like, ew? I just don't like that from just it's a gross out thing for me. I believe in part 1 as well, like, there was a part where, maybe it was part 3. Was it part 1 or 3? Either way, there's a scene in either part 1 or 3 where Dio plays with someone's like artery under their skin and everything. And it's like, I think it was part 1 because I think it might have been Jonathan he did it with. But either way, it was like just, ooh, no, gross, ew. It's just like, oh my god, I hate it so much. But not because of the reason they probably want you to. And that's kind of what I was feeling here with this situation. And then you have the gator come as well. And this one's obviously a lot more vicious and hungry for legs. Also, FF's reaction to that was amazing. Just because they said it in such an almost nonchalant way. It's like, oh shit, my leg. It's just like, I don't know if like the intention was having them like scream that or anything or like be freaked out, but just the performance on that was so unexpectedly deadpan that it was really fucking funny. And I don't know if that's the intention or not, and so I'm unsure if that was supposed to be it funny or not. But it was really fucking funny to me. It's just oh god. It's just another one of the things in this series that it's just like that's a meme. That's definitely going to be a meme. But yeah, like I said, this episode did give a lot of great depth to Hermes' character. We find out why she got herself sent to prison and everything. We get to find out about her backstory and her sister's death and all. And yeah, it's obviously very sad. It's terrible what happened, and I can understand why she would want revenge on Sportsmax. But there's also an interesting thing that was kind of brought up here. Why did Sportsmax seem like he didn't know what she was talking about? Like, he noticed the picture, and it looked like he recognized the picture of Gloria. Yet when Hermes, like, you know, had caught him in the pipes and was kind of, I guess you could say, interrogating him, it seemed like he had no idea what she was talking about. Is that just me? And I went back and looked at it, and the beginning of this episode, I think, is new content, where it shows, like, Hermes, like, laying there bloodied and just in a very bad state. And there's a dead girl, and it's like they mentioned with her skull caved in or whatnot. What the fuck is going on there? That's I guess that's like leading us to like, oh, this we're gonna get to that, and now let's go back and find out how it got to that point. But it's like, okay, so who's the girl? I have thoughts, and I have no idea if any of these thoughts have any founding in reality. But my instant thought is that not Sportsmax in there, in the pipe? And I guess by extension, is Limp Bizkit not his Sportsmax's actual stand? Is this girl? And if so, how? Why? Questions? I don't know. I don't know where this is going. But I like that. I like that it's leaving me hanging. I like that it's making me theorize and think about that. And yeah, I enjoy having just a pretty interesting cliffhanger right off the bat with this series coming back. I just really, really fucking wish that this hadn't taken my attention off of that so heavily with the lack of a new opening and the really poorly done change to the opening. And again, I swear I thought I heard something about like one of the part 4 bands like doing the new opening, like as if it were like news or something. But again, maybe it was a rumor, maybe it was. I don't know, but like, my disappointment is immeasurable in that regard. Not even just because there's not a new opening right yet. Just because of the change they made being so drastically bad and hurting the opening because of how unbelievably different it looks with everything else in the opening, and not in a good way. Like, sometimes you might be able to get away with shit like that, having some things just pop out of nowhere and be so different than the rest of the opening that it actually works, such as with part 5 and the Diavolo version of the opening, of the second opening. Like, that, obviously, yeah, it looks different. It's very different from the rest of the opening. But that's the point, and that's because it's one of the villain openings. So at that point, that's acceptable. Here, it's such a minor change, and really doesn't add anything by changing that. And again, with it being so drastically different, it takes away by making it just seem completely spliced in randomly. I don't know. I don't know. But it honestly takes a lot of my attention away from the episode, and I hate that. And that's definitely the biggest reason why I don't think I can continue watching the opening during the reactions here. Because that will distract me so hard and every time, and I want to enjoy the episodes. And again, I did enjoy this episode, but that distracted me so bad that it's undeniable that I probably didn't enjoy this episode as much as I could and should have. And I hate to say that, but it probably is the case. But tell me in the comments below, without spoilers, of course, for the future, what you thought of this episode of JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, Stone Ocean. Are you as excited to be back as I am, despite the issues here? Or have you kind of lost a lot of the engagement with this long wait? Or just have you lost the engagement but are excited to be back nonetheless? It's still possible. Tell me your thoughts either way down below, and thank you so much for tuning in. For now, I'm Connie, and I'm signing off. See y'all next time.